What excites me the most about the work that I do is that I get to start understanding myself and understanding other people. A lot of times our behavior seems chaotic, but it really isn't. It might be irrational, but it's predictably irrational. And the art of learning psychology is that you start learning how to be able to recognize that predictability in the irrationality. Personally, students benefit from taking psychology classes because they get to learn a lot more about themselves and learn a lot more about the people around them. It also helps out in terms of academics, so you can learn different ways of learning information, different ways of studying that are more effective than some of the techniques that a lot of students come in with. And it can help out in terms of your interpersonal relationships. You get to connect with other people a bit better too. When people come in to take intro psych, they always come in with these ideas about what psychology is like. You just have to spend a lot of time within a class like this one trying to debunk myths. And that's probably my favorite part about it. Trying to figure out what information people come in thinking that they know about psychology, and then actually giving them the real information. Things like, no, we don't just use 10% of our brain. So being able to debunk those types of myths, that's my favorite part about teaching the freshman level classes. My favorite thing that I'd gotten back from one of the students, favorite piece of feedback, was that he had learned how to connect with his brother better. So this particular student's brother was on the autism spectrum. And before taking our class, there were certain things about his brother that the student just didn't understand. His brother is nonverbal, and so you can't really explain things to him. But after learning some of the material about autism, and learning some of the different types of approaches that have been helpful in communicating with somebody who has autism, this student went home and tried it out with his brother, and a lot of these things worked. So that part to me was just really cool. This goes not just for intro psych, but for taking psychology classes in general. Psychology classes have a lot of reading, a ton of reading. And I've seen people that come in and try to just wing it because it feels like it's intuitive. It feels like it should just make sense. And we can tell when you're just trying to wing it, because a lot of the myths that people come in with aren't real psychology. So if you're coming in and you're trying to wing it, you end up falling back on those myths and it stands out. So if you're going to take a psychology class, be prepared to do a lot of reading. And be prepared also to do a lot of introspection, a lot of looking at your own life and looking at your own beliefs and having to think critically about them. One of the things that I like the most about psychology is that it really does focus us on the things that we had taken for granted, not just about the people around us, but also about ourselves. And now we actually have to think deeply about them and figure out which types of things that we thought about ourselves were legitimate versus which that we thought about ourselves and just took for granted. In addition to going on to becoming actual psychologists, people who are doing therapy, people who are working in labs and so forth, there are a lot of other people who graduate with psychology degrees who go into different fields. So I know a lot of the students that I've worked with have gone into legal fields. They went on to law school or went on to medical school and so forth. I've had some that became teachers. I've had some that became authors, which was really awesome to me. I had some that became journalists. So there are a lot of different types of jobs that people can get coming out of college with a psychology degree. And part of the reason for that is that there's not really a field that you can go into that doesn't require you to understand people. And if you're dealing with psychology, that's exactly what you're learning how to do. So any field that you want to go into, psychology can help with, even if you're not going into something that is specifically a psychology profession.